back to my channel. If you're new, what it do? Alright, so today I'm gonna be discussing a pretty frequently asked question, and that is, what does the typical schedule of a flight attendant look like? I kind of previously answered this question in one of my past flight attendant videos. I don't really remember which one, but for this one I'm gonna try to go into as much detail as possible. I'm gonna do my best to touch on everything that comes to mind, and then of course if you have any additional questions, comment down below and I'll be sure to answer them. Okay, so boom. With most airlines, you're gonna have two different types of schedules. You're either gonna be a line holder or you're gonna be on reserve. Also, just a quick side note, schedules are on a month-to-month basis. So we're in the month of October right now. October 10th to the 13th is when we had our bidding period for the month of November. So of course, once the bidding period closed on October 13th, we were able to receive the schedules for the month of November. Yeah, so anyways, let's discuss the first type of schedule, which is reserve. Being on reserve basically means that you don't have any control over your schedule and they're able to call you at any time during your reserve period. The times of your reserve period actually vary each day depending on your airline. So it could be anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. At my airline specifically, the reserve periods are 12 hours long. So I used to do reserve C, which was from 2 p.m. to midnight. I used to do that at first, but then I switched to reserve B, which was 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The only reason I did that was because I was literally getting like no trips on reserve C, y'all. So I ended up switching to B, which was 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. It was a little bit better. Honestly, reserve A was getting the most trips. That's from midnight to 7 a.m. but we're not an overnight type of girl, okay? I need my sleep. But yeah, like I said, at some airlines, the reserve period is literally 24 hours long. So you just gotta make sure your ringer is loud, okay? Don't sleep too hard. Now keep in mind, when I say your reserve period is from 2 p.m. to midnight or 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., that doesn't mean that you're only gonna be working flights in that block of time. That's literally just a call period. So they can call you at any time between 2 p.m. and midnight. They can call you and notify you of a 4-day trip anytime between 2 p.m. and midnight. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's say, for example, you're on reserve from 2 p.m. to midnight, right? They call you at 4 p.m. for a 6 p.m. report time. So they'll be like, hi, how are you? I was calling to notify you of this 4-day trip. Your report time is at 6 p.m. You have 2 hours to get to the airport. This is how it's gonna work if you're sitting at home on call. Another thing that you're gonna do on reserve is what's called sitting standby or sitting ready. And honestly, y'all, sitting standby is like the worst thing ever, not gonna lie. It gets boring really fast if you're not getting no trips. Sitting standby means they call you into the airport in full uniform. You're fully packed, whether that's for a turn or a 4-day trip. You got to pack for everything in between, lunch kit ready to go. And yeah, and the point of this is to basically have flight attendants on go, you know, just in case there's a no call, no show. Like, delays are very expensive, so they try to avoid those at all costs. That's why they usually have flight attendants sitting standby. So yeah, standby and ready sits usually last between 4 and 8 hours. And they can get extremely boring. Like I said, you're just literally sitting in a crew room or you're sitting somewhere in the terminal. Time is passing by. For me personally, it's only so much Netflix I can watch. Like, it's only so much scrolling I can do before I'm just like, bruh, like, what am I doing with my life? So some things I would recommend if you find yourself constantly sitting ready, because trust and believe, it happens, you guys. Like, it could be slower months, or it could be like an influx of people on reserve, so they just have like 1,000 people sitting ready and y'all just looking at each other. Like, it happens. There's gonna be months, you know, that might be slower than others, and you're gonna be sitting for the majority of the month. So some things I would recommend: find you a nice book, you know, self-help book or whatever kind of books you into, hopefully a productive kind of book, where you can like find somewhere quiet and journal. You can bring your laptop and you can like research different things or something you've been putting off, like something. I know when I used to sit standby, I would like find a quiet place in the terminal, and I would edit my videos. I would come up with different video ideas. I would write out scripts, like just find something productive to do at the time, y'all. All right, let's move on to what your off days are gonna look like while on reserve. You typically have two different types of off days. You're gonna have your guaranteed days off and your movables, and these off days can typically range anywhere like between 2 to 4 days off, maybe more, maybe less. I will say for commuters, it would be a lot easier to have those longer stretches of days off, because you got to think, you flying back and forth into base, that literally takes away like 2 of your off days right there. So yeah, yeah, if you can, try and move your schedule around to where you can get like a few more days off at a time. But anyway, let me go into detail on the two type of days off. So your GDOs, your guaranteed days off, that means don't call my phone, like you off. And then the movables means that you could possibly work or you possibly could not work. It just depends. Like you could maybe get extended. Like let's say you on a 3-day trip and then you call to get released. Your next day is a movable, right? You call to get released and they're like, oh, we're gonna have you work this turn tomorrow. Then you end up working that movable day. You don't have it off. Or let's say that you're on a movable, you actually have the day off but you want to work. There's a chance they could call you and be like, hey, like we have a trip for you. Would you like to work this trip? And then boom, you can work like that. But GDOs, they're not gonna call you. That's your time. So what I did to kind of like put things into perspective is I made an example of what your reserve schedule would look like. Okay, so boom. Y'all can see that? So this is my example of what your reserve schedule would look like. This is July 2022, y'all. I literally just found like an old planner and made this. So this is your reserve schedule for the month of July. These pink ones right here, these two pink ones is your movables. That's why I said that's the days that you could possibly be working. So you got 2 up there, 2 at the end of the month. And then the green right there is your GDOs. So I put 4 blocks of 4 for your GDO. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the numbers that you see, is just the amount of days that you're actually on reserve. So let's say at the beginning of July, you got the 1st and 2nd, you got 2 movables, and then you have a 5-day stretch of being on reserve. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then after your 5-day stretch, you got 4 GDOs, and then you got another 6-day stretch on reserve, 4 GDOs, you got a 5-day stretch, and then you got 2 movables down here, and then you got 3 days of reserve. So that's just an example of what your month could look like while on reserve. Oh, and then don't forget over here, I added your block and credit hours. So your block hours right here is gonna be the time that the aircraft door closes and y'all push back off the gate, all the way to the time y'all pull back into the gate and the aircraft door opens. So literally your block hours is from door closed to door open. That's when you're getting paid. Once again, that's when you're getting paid. That's the only time you're getting paid. So you're not getting paid for boarding. Anything outside of your block hours, wrap it up, pack it up, sack it up. You're not getting paid. Only thing you're getting paid for is per diem. I take that back. You do get paid per diem when you on your layovers. Ours is like $2, $3, something like that. But yeah, other than that, besides Delta, they just got boarding pay. But yeah, other than that, you ain't getting your bread, okay, until that aircraft door closed. Hopefully we get to follow in Delta's footsteps soon. But yeah, that's where we at. And then your credit hours is actually gonna be, so your credit hours is a little bit different. Let's say you work a 4-day trip, right? Let's say you work a 4-day trip that's actually blocked at 18 hours. Although it's blocked at 18 hours, it could actually be credited as more. So it could be credited at like 22. So that extra few hours right there is what you call your soft credit. Soft credit is amazing. I would recommend y'all like finding soft credit trips if you can, for real. And that's how you get, that's the difference. That's the only difference between these two things right here. So your block is how many actual hours that you taxied in, taxied out, aircraft open, close, whatever, woo. But this is how much it's actually worth. But yeah, if you're on reserve, it could look like you blocked in at 75 hours, but the total amount you're getting paid for is 85. That's the only difference between the two. All right, so now let's discuss the second type of schedule, which is a line holder. When you hold a line, that means you know exactly where you're flying to, when you're flying to, how long your layover is, all that woo for the entire month. So for example, you'll know, okay, next month on November 23rd, I got a 4-day trip. I'll be in Myrtle Beach, I'll be in Dallas, I'll be in San Antonio. I'm getting back at this time. Like, you're gonna have the whole spiel. This is where it gets fun, of course, because you can fly as little or as much as you want, and you can kiss crew scheduling goodbye, y'all. They will not be hitting your line. The only reason they'll be hitting your line is for like cancellations or reroutes or something like that. But other than that, wrap it up. Your schedule is your schedule, and yeah, there's no changing it. There's a lot of flexibility within having a line. Let's say that you want to go home to your kids or your pets every single day, so you can work Monday through Thursday. You can literally just work turns and be able to come back every single night. Or let's say you're a commuter, so you're looking for those longer trips, like those 4-day trips. You can have a trip Monday through Thursday and then be off the weekend, if that makes sense for you. So I made another pretend schedule for that as well, and I put that for December, y'all. So let's say fast forward from July to December, you finally got a line. Hey, let's get it. Let's say that you wanted to work 4-day trips Monday through Thursday and then have the weekend off. I got you. Don't worry about the first 4 days of December, y'all. We looking down here. So first week in December, you're gonna work Monday through Thursday, 4-day trip. You're gonna be in Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Vegas. Get back to base on Thursday. The following week, you're gonna be in Atlanta, Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, back to base on Thursday. But let's say here, you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, my auntie having a birthday party on, auntie having a birthday party on this Thursday, so I need to switch into something else. I need to get a 3-day trip instead of a 4-day trip. You look for a 3-day trip, woo, boom, you find something. So you're gonna work Atlantic City, you're gonna work San Diego, and then you're gonna get back in base on Wednesday. That way you can go to your auntie birthday party that Thursday. And then of course the last week in December, you're gonna be in Baltimore, San Juan, Baltimore again, back to base on that Thursday. That's an example of what your line could look like, y'all. And I still added the block and credit hours right here. Honestly, I feel like you get a little bit more soft credit while you're on reserve. Ooh, hold on. Yeah, I feel like you get a little bit more soft credit while on reserve, but it's still definitely possible to get it while holding the line too. But yeah, I put block and credit was both at 90, so that means you got paid for exactly the amount of hours that you blocked in and out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You are able to add, swap, and drop trips however you like. There's 2 different ways that you could pick up, either from open time or trade board. Open time is basically all trips from the company, if that makes sense. Like, the company already made up these trips and they just put them out there for anyone to work them. And trade board can be a little bit trickier, but basically it's when a flight attendant drops their trip into the trade board, and like they want to like switch out into maybe something you have, or it's like a last minute thing to where they're dropping their trip and hoping that somebody can pick it up, like different things like that. Trade board a little bit, it's a little bit trickier, but basically that's the 2 places that you'll go to maneuver your schedule. Also, the more that you grow your seniority, you'll be able to hold off holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, stuff like that. Your girl got Thanksgiving off again, so I'm super excited. But yeah, just all based on seniority. But of course, if you do end up having to work those holidays, you get extra pay. I always recommend this job because it's like, depending on who you're with, like what airline, there's so much flexibility, you guys. I know my airline is like a little bit younger in age, so I was able to get a line really fast. But with the major legacy airlines, you might be on reserve for a little bit more time. But honestly, that's okay though. I feel like if you genuinely love the job, you eventually gonna get into a system, you eventually gonna get into your little routine. You gonna vibe. Like, it's definitely a little tough in the beginning, but once you get that routine down, you'll be green. The best thing that I could tell you is to do your research on these airlines, guys. What are you looking for? Are you looking for pay? Are you looking for flexibility? Are you looking for benefit? Research is going to be key. I do my best to give out like general flight attendant information that pertains to every single airline. You know, I try to keep it as inclusive as possible, but some things are specific to each airline. You know, sometimes I'll get questions that are pertaining to a specific airline, and I'm like, if it's not my airline, then honestly, like, I can't give you the answer. You got to go and research it yourself. But I do try to give out as much general information as possible. So like I said, y'all, comment down below if it's anything that I missed out on and I could actually answer. I love you guys so much, and I'll see y'all in my next video.